Okay, welcome to the tutorial on using Inkscape to set line types for the laser. On the screen you can see my version of Inkscape that I'm using. You might have a different version on your computer, but you want to stick to a 0.9 something version, not the 1.0, just to make sure that your user interface looks just like mine. It'll make things easier. So 0.9 something. Search it on your computer, you'll find it, and let's get going. Close this little window. When you open Inkscape, it might take a few minutes to open. This is a slow opening program, so if you keep clicking on the icon, you might get several open once it finally decides to get up and running. Just close the extra ones, and you will be on a page that looks kind of like this. Like most programs, it's a little overwhelming at the start. There's a lot of buttons, but just follow along. We'll stick to just the ones we need. In front of us on the screen, that's supposed to look like a regular piece of photocopy paper. And the first thing we're going to do is learn how to move around in Inkscape. So I have a mouse, you'll need a mouse, and you're going to hold down the scroll wheel in the middle of your mouse and move back and forth, and that way you can pan things. So that's panning. The next thing is, if I point at any location and I scroll the scroll wheel, oh look, it just goes up and down. So don't point at any location. Scroll wheel is simply like a web page scrolling. But if I point at a location and I hold Control while I scroll, I will zoom in on that location. So that's super useful. Control and scroll for zooming. If you have those moves down, we're pretty much ready to go. So what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to try and get our line types ready. In a previous tutorial, you set up some PDFs of your gears. And what you're going to do is go up here to File, pick it, and down to Import. Don't choose Open. We've already got something open. We'd like to bring something in, so that's Import. So click on that. The next thing is, what are you going to try and laser? Well, I'm going to start with my 16-tooth gear here. So I'm going to pick that and push Open. And just accept the defaults, push OK, and in comes my gear, and I can hover over it and I see these little arrows on my hovering, and that means I can move it, drag it around. And you are by default using your tool up here, which I call the pick tool, but if you hover over them they'll tell you what they call it. Select and transform object tool, pick tool, and when you click objects you will see they get picked, and then you can do things with them. What you don't want to do is change its size, that's for sure, because we want this gear to be the right size. If you mess something up like this, here I'll change its size for a second, just hit Control Z and it will take. Sorry there, I hit my audio and muted it. Now I'm back. So back to this. Now, these line types aren't going to be interpreted by the laser as cutting line types, so we have to change that. So now that we've got this object, they call it in Inkscape here, we're going to head up to the object properties up here, and we're going to click Fill and Stroke. And a dialog pops up for you, and you have 3 tabs at the top that you'll pay attention to. The first one is Fill. We're going to turn the fill off by clicking the X. The stroke has to be a special color, so you get to the colors by turning on the solid here, that box. And the stroke has to be exactly what it says I've got it at. It's an RGB spectrum, red, green, blue, and this has to be at 255. So if yours is somewhere other than 255, just key in 255, and that's it. So that'll make it fully red. Then we're going to head over here to Stroke Style. And the stroke style is we're going to work with the width of the line, and you're going to choose inches, and we're going to choose 0.001, just like that. That's 1/1000th of an inch. So if you zoom in on your drawing now, you'll see that it's a very thin line, 1/1000th of an inch, and it's fully red because we set it to 255. And those two properties, the 255 red and the 0.001 inches, are interpreted by the laser as cut lines. So that's all we have to do. And in the next video I'm going to show you how to get from Inkscape to the laser's control software. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.